Welcome back to another episode of Rich Lessons Podcast. Now, I always say we have a special guest, but we really have a special guest today. Super excited to have Edgar Dook, and this is very important. Get the name right. We've been working with our team on pronouncing it right. Chase the Fourth, who is the grandson of culinary legend Leah Chase and a torchbearer of one of New Orleans' most treasured family legacies. As a chef, restaurateur, and Food Network host, Dook has successfully fused tradition with innovation. He's respected not only for preserving the culinary roots of his family, but also for pushing boundaries and reimagining what the next generation of Black excellence in food looks like. Dookie Chase is a fourth-generation restaurateur and the grandson of Leah Chase, and you may know her as a legendary New Orleans chef who inspired Tiana for Disney's The Princess and the Frog. Dook brings his chef's palate and recognition of how food and community are directly linked to Family Recipe Showdown, where he serves as a co-host and judge with Octavia Spencer. Welcome.
Thank you so very much. And thank you for such wonderful words. I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you here. I like the fact that we can add TV personality to your long list of things.
I like it too.
But before we get there, can we just start from the top? Let's start from the very beginning. And I feel like I'm a huge person that honors tradition, but can you tell us a little bit about your legacy, where you're from, where your family's from, and why you do what you do?
Yeah, so when you think about the Chase family, certainly you think about our flagship restaurant, Dookie Chase Restaurant, started in 1941 by my great-grandparents, Emily Tonette and Edgar Dookie Chase Sr. And when you think back to that time, it was a gathering spot. It opened up as a bar and a sandwich shop for community to gather. My grandfather was a huge social. He was part of many different social clubs. But he wanted people, specifically Black American people, to have their own spot where they can gather. Then you transition into the next generation, my grandparents taking ownership and lead of the restaurant. And that's when the fine dining aspect came on. And when that came on, you're thinking about a time during segregation. You're thinking about a time during civil rights. My grandmother had to grow up. She's from Madisonville, but she came to New Orleans to work in restaurants where she couldn't dine in. So she wanted to have a fine dining restaurant where her community can dine, and not only her community, everyone who wanted to dine in her community to dine. So that's when Dookie Chase opened up its dining rooms and to everybody. So you had civil rights leaders, both Black and white. You had freedom fighters. And growing up hearing those stories and understanding that true hospitality meant service to our community. So Dookie Chase Restaurant not only served everyone, not only played a role in the civil rights struggle, but they cashed checks at the bars when those working longshoremen were working and wasn't being treated fairly at banks. They cashed checks at that bar. Sold tickets to concerts when you couldn't go to Ticketmaster to a concert that you wanted to see because you were a certain complexion. We sold tickets at Dookie Chase Restaurant. Showcased African-American art on all our walls because at that time, nobody's was showcasing the arts of African-Americans. So my grandma said, we're going to do it. I say that to say that their focus was always community first. Right? Certainly when you come in our restaurants, we want to give you great food. We want great hospitality. But how are we truly servicing our community? So growing up with those stories, growing up hearing the importance of our restaurant and growing up working in that restaurant really guided my career and focused not only me, but the whole fourth generation and now the fifth generation on why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you continue to honor that tradition while creating something new? And you've created a lot of new things and probably have blown your ancestors, wildest dreams out the water.
We're trying. I think it's that foundation. It's understanding exactly your first question, why we do what we do. And then understanding that the hard work, the struggle that each generation put in before us meant for us to push it further. It meant for us to continue to grow. Not only just sustain what they did, but how do we keep growing it? How do we push it further? So yeah, we got into the airport business. We started in New Orleans, then we went and won in Nashville, then we went and we won in Boston. We opened up new restaurants. Our newest one, Chapter 4, getting ready to celebrate 3 years. Just recently, we got into university feeding. So now we partner with Tulane University. Hopefully, there's a few I can announce fairly soon, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. But just growing each and every aspect or component of that business to showcase the foundation that was given to us. And then to make sure that's sustainable. And now saying the fifth generation, here's your piece, take this even further.
And how important do you feel like that is to your family? Oftentimes, particularly in the restaurant business, I talk to friends from the Asian community, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, the restaurant business is so backbreaking that I don't know if we're going to be able to convince our kids to follow us and keep it going." How has that been for your family?
It certainly is. It's a very tough industry, and even my grandparents would often joke they educated their kids outside of the business. So if you look at the background of my parents, look at the background of the fourth generation, right? I have an economics and finance degree, an MBA, went to corporate America for 7 years before I came back full throttle in hospitality. Tracy, who's fourth generation, is a nurse. I have an accountant, a CPA that's back in the business. So they understand how hard and difficult it is, but with them educating us in that whole capacity and the love that we have for our family and the love we have for our industry, all of that experience and education has actually helped us grow the business and continues to help us. So the fifth generation, as you all go off and get all the degrees you want, some of you all better come back home because we're going to need you to take this a few steps further than we can take it.
I love that. It reminds me of what people say about LeBron James and all his friends went out to do all these things, but that was the LeBron James method that y'all were practicing before the LeBron James method was a thing.
Like everybody go out, do your thing, become great, and then come back and we do it even better together.
That's it. Yeah. Go get the knowledge, go get the experience, and then bring it back home and build this house bigger.
You know, it's Savitra has talked about your family plenty of times before. Clearly Disney, which that comes from, with so many of your family members, you know, going off and becoming even greater and getting more knowledge and coming back to New Orleans. Do you all ever feel like because New Orleans is home that you got a national or international view for? Because clearly you're on the Food Network now, which we will get into, which is a national audience. And people love New Orleans food. I feel like New Orleans is usually like number one on like the foodie list.
Yeah, we were talking about that before you came in.
Know, usually it's number one. I'm sure you get a lot of people who are like, bring it here. But your heart is in New Orleans, of course. But how do you feel when people are usually like, get it out, not out of New Orleans, but expand it beyond New Orleans?
Well, you're on the move. You just talked about 2 airports and schools.
Certainly, you know, there's always, we use strategic growth, or that's the term we use, right? When we dive into any community, we're diving in full-fledged, right? I talked about the importance of who and why we operate, not just being the food and hospitality. So if we expand outside of New Orleans, which in someday we might, it may be someday very soon, who knows? But it has to be a meaningful impact. We're not just going into a location and say, yeah, we can be successful and gross this X amount of revenue here, which I think we can do. But what else are we bringing to that table? How are we really going to serve this community? Is it uplifting? Is it bringing back an African-American community that fell on hard times? Is it showcasing art? Is it all of the above? Who knows? But that's how we look at our strategic growth, is saying, one, is it something that we want to do? Two, do we have the manpower to do it? When I mean the manpower, each one of our locations has a family representative, or each location has a person that is very, very close to our family. So they can train, they can understand the reason why we do what we do. It's not just, we want this food to be great, we want this hospitality to be great. We want to make sure they know how we operate outside of the walls of each and every location that we own. So if we have that capacity, then certainly we look for all opportunities to grow.
I love that.
So we touched a little about on this with legacy and family legacy. I think a lot of people would love to build a family business, right? But I want to know, what's the hardest part, because it's still family, of building and running a family business?
You know, I think family business, you hear so many times it's hard, and it is hard. It has its complications, but it hasn't been hard for us, because I think the generations who came before us understood the foundation they needed to build. What I mean by that is they made sure each generation grows up in that business. Each generation learns every aspect of that business. So I grew up washing dishes. folding napkins, shining silverware, serving tables, making drinks, found my way in the back in the kitchen. And I say grew up doing it. I still do that. If there's a need for it to happen, I'm going to do it because I understand the foundation of that business and what we want the end user, our guests, our customers to experience. But when you have that compounded with the knowledge of the struggles that each generation came before us had to go through to make this business sustainable. We're coming up on 85 years at Dookie Chase Restaurant. That has been through a lot of bumps in the road, a lot of hurdles, whether it's man-made or natural disasters, but they were able to sustain that. So when you think back to that and you look at it now, you're like, I can't let this go. That's all the inspiration and motivation that I need because they have been through 10 times as much as we think we're going through right now. And I think understanding that helps us preserve what we need to do.
I still think it's such a beautiful thing though, because I have friends who maybe their granddad maybe started, and the dad got it, and then like for them, they're like, I don't want to do that. No. Like I don't want to be in the family business. So I think it's actually incredibly beautiful that it's been going on for so long, and the next generations continue to want to do it.
Well, thank you. It really defines who we are as a Chase family. So I hope it continues for the 5th, 6th, and beyond. If not, we'll come down and talk to them.
Right. Good tap on their shoulder.
Yeah.
So we talked a little about this before we started recording, but the ever-changing dynamic of the food industry and the growing popularity of restaurants, some of that just by people walking in a restaurant and telling their friends, but other times by food influencers and trends. So I would love to know, what do you think about the rise of food influencers who I know frequent your restaurants all the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. That rise certainly helps you out. So you think about our flagship restaurant, Dookie Chase. When we opened up Chapter 4, that was 83 years at Dookie Chase. And you think you can travel that brand, right? I'm opening up Chapter 4. I'm a part of the Chase family. When I open those doors, it's going to boom. But each restaurant takes on its own shape and model and growth trajectory. So I'm very old school, didn't know anything about influencers at the time when we opened up Chapter 4. So we opened it up and a manager comes and said, look, we have an influencer coming in. What should we do? I said, what should we do? We should serve them. They're guests. What do you need them to do? We can send out an appetizer. And they was like, do you know what an influencer is? I said, I have no clue, but help teach me. Learn really quick how important influencers are in terms of marketing, getting the word out, and really giving a startup restaurant some credibility, even though I had a lot of it from my family, right? 83 years in at a flagship, you need that help to get new businesses out. So we got that going, and it's been a good role ever since. So I welcome each and every great influencer to come through Chapter 4 restaurant. Thank you for those who did come through and really gave us some good shout outs. We're doing very well. We want to continue to do very well. So each and every person, please, you're welcome at all my restaurants. And we hope you get the best experience you can have.
Yes, I would say that anytime someone says, oh, we should go do lunch, I'm like, oh, Chapter 4, 12 o'clock, I'm making a reservation.
In fact, the last time we were together, she took me there.
Well, thank you.
So speaking of, she's not lying. She literally took me there the last time in New Orleans.
So y'all know that's my lunch spot.
I appreciate that.
So with that, how do you handle criticism, right? Which is inevitable. I don't care if you got like 5, 10, 12 stars, Michelin, it don't matter. The criticism comes. But how do you handle that in a city with high culinary expectations? Because people just expect so much from New Orleans.
They do. And we expect so much as owners. We expect so much as chefs. We want to get it right. We want everybody that walks through the door to have the best experience and meet all those expectations. So how I handle criticism is somebody took their time out to write me a note, good, bad, or indifferent. There's something in there that I need to read. There's something in there that I may need to correct, right? So I'll look for that message. Now, the whole story may be, could be harsh, but sometimes there's a message in there that I really need to do. And I never forget, there's a restaurateur that's very, very successful, not in New Orleans. And we were sitting down after a food and wine festival. We both did interviews. And he told me, I said, man, give me some advice, because it's always good to reach out to your mentors and peers who might have traveled the road a little further than you and can guide you along to miss a few bumps and hurdles. And he said, well, I treat problems in two pockets. There's my right pocket and my left pocket. He said, in my left pocket, there's the problems that's not really problems because I already know the answer to. I just didn't want to address them because it could have been discomfort, it could have been timing. And the right pocket is truly hard problems that we need to focus on. He said, my goal to each and every person is never let the left pocket fill up. You have to address it, read it, get into it, find a time, because those are easy ones. Those are answerable. Those you can make right. He said, and there are always going to be those hard ones that come where you need to really, really focus on. And that's what that's how I treat criticism, right? You're trying to tell me something. Let me find that message. Let me answer it. Let me get it right. We're not perfect. We try to be, though.
Yeah, and y'all gotten a lot right. So
thank you.
Yeah, food was amazing.
I appreciate
it was amazing.
that.
So Food Network.
Yes.
How did that come to be?
So the Food Network opportunity, and for those, that's called the Family Recipe Showdown. I'm a co-host with Octavia Spencer, and she brings on a lot of her celebrity friends. So I need you to watch it every Thursday night
Yes, shout
on
out.
the Food Network. But before that, we did a story, 26 episodes on PBS. It's called Dookie Chase, Kitchen of Leah's Legacy. And I was able to tell that story of our restaurant's history through food. So that show has carried on and still being replayed. But somebody somewhere out in LA and New York picked up a video and said, hey, there's a new show opportunity coming out. We'd love to have a Zoom with you. So I was like, cool, I'm interested. We get on a Zoom, Octavia's on a Zoom, and they're giving me a synopsis of the show. They didn't give me the name, just kind of said this will be that. And we start talking. And me and Octavia, I said, look, what's some of your food memories? And she's telling me about food memories. And everybody has a food memory, whether you're the one cooking in the kitchen or you're the one just in the kitchen watching those who are cooking and just listening and sharing in on the stories. So after that Zoom, me didn't realize that was an interview. They were just looking for that connectivity that I had with Octavia. They called me back and said, all right, here's the show and this is what we're doing. I was like, cool. I was like, so when do I audition on it? They was like, that was that Zoom call you were on. So that's how that came about. And then we really started to hone in on what does this show want to represent. And the Family Recipe Showdown celebrates culture, celebrates tradition, celebrate those generations of recipes that you have or you shared with whoever, right? Could be a family, could be a mom and a pop, could be a grandfather, a grandmother, could be two brothers. It's just those experiences that you have at home around food, it matters.
So let me tell you, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to watch it. I am horrible with food, but I want to get into food so badly, but I will burn toast.
That's all right. Start watching it.
See, so I'm gonna start watching. I'm gonna work my way. I'm gonna work my way up into these recipes, and I'm gonna get away from the air fryer and learn how to do a little bit more, and learn to cook.
You have to learn how to do a lot of bit more to cook their recipes.
But I tell people all the time, and much like in any other industry, cooking is confidence. You got to start with that confidence that you can do it. So don't go and say, I'm going to knock this out. This is going to be the best stewed chicken I ever made in my life. And you're going to come pretty close to it.
Well, I have been watching the show, which I love. I love the dynamic between you and Octavia Spencer and other guests. How has it been working with them? And I mean, I would say you Hollywood now, you know?
Well, thank you. Look, I'm trying to be. Let's keep this thing going. It has been great, tremendous, working with Octavia and many of her friends that come through the show. We have a lot of celebrities. You saw, I think just showed a few that came out, but the first one highlighted Reese Witherspoon. Mm-hmm. And when you get behind the scenes, everybody's so cool, man. We all sharing stories, having a good time, going back on the set and really just having a good time even in front of the camera. But I think working with them, especially Octavia, I'm coming from a kitchen, I'm coming from restaurants, I know food. To transition that to being behind the camera and really talking, she gave me that comfort. She gave me the confidence by making me comfortable, understanding, what I should be looking for, how I should say certain things, this, that, and other. But also to be natural, be who you are. That's what people want to see. That's what they gravitate to, is they're going to gravitate to you knowing your food and you just being you. And hearing that gave me the confidence to co-host with and have a lot of fun as a judge.
I love that.
Absolutely. Now, I always think about like storytelling. Like when we talk about business and tech, all these different industries, we're like the person that tells the best story wins the day. How is storytelling important in your industry and with your family? I feel like the Food Networks, the Disneys of the world, like they just gravitate towards you all because the power of your stories is so big. So how has that been, and how has it been trying to continuously tell this story, right?
Yeah, that is it. You know, that's exactly what we are doing. We're telling our story through food. We're celebrating our culture through the plates that you see. But when you get that, that is our story. That is the Chase family. That is who we are. You know, we talk about the things we did outside of that restaurant. We have to continue to tell that story, not only for the next generation in our family, but for the next generation in our city and the next generation in our country. I think that's the most important thing, is never ever forget where you came from, who you are, and why you are what you are because of the people and the hard work that came before you. So you have to keep shining light on your culture. You have to keep shining light on those traditions, and you have to keep that in the focal point, just so you know that can be not only carried on, but it gives you a sense of pride. It gives you a sense of confidence. And when you have that, marry that with experience and a work ethic, you can go wherever you want to go. So that's why we do it, and it's been fun doing it.
Amazing.
Speaking of legacy, family, what is the most powerful lesson that you got from your grandmother?
Oh, that's a tough one, but it's a lesson that she got from her father. He told her, Leah, remember three things: work hard, pray, and do for others. And those three things guided her life. Those three things have actually been the foundation of our family's life: working hard, putting in the work, being prepared, foreseeability, pray, having faith, knowing that there's higher powers out there. Even the people that passed on in my family, they're up there still guiding us. She's still guiding me right now as we talk. Her, my father, my aunt, grandfather, all of them. They are rooting for us. And then do for others, making sure you are solving the needs of community, doing your part. You can't solve everybody's need, but you certainly can do your part, making sure that you're always playing a role and doing your part. So that's what we try to keep forward and keep pushing for the next generation.
How does it feel to know that you're coming in her footsteps? So I went to the African American Smithsonian, and you all hopefully still are well represented there, still represented there and throughout the museum. And I know I felt like a sense of pride because I was like, oh, wow, like I get to go back to New Orleans and frequent the restaurant that she is a part of and that she spent her entire life building. And one day, you know, a kid now running around is going to feel the same way about you, right? And probably still and does today, but they're going to remember frequenting your restaurants and seeing you work with your team members and just being in that presence, right? So how do you feel about knowing, one, obviously you have big shoes to fill, but that you're taking another level for another generation that's looking at you the way that our generation looked at Leah Chase?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. And I say that's how we honor them, right? That's how we honor and pay homage to the hard work and everything that they did. You know, my grandmother, Leah Chase, was just an amazing person, amazing human being, and certainly the best grandmother you can ever ask for. And she got that because she had a love of people. She had a love of humanity, which translated into a love of food, a passion for arts, a passion for hospitality, making sure everybody had the best experience they can possibly have. So when you come behind that, I don't know if I can surpass it. I just want to get a little bit of it. And thankfully for me, I have a lot in the fourth generation who can help pick up that wagon and everybody play their role because her and my grandfather, they're at the top of the charts. And I don't know if, you know, certain things you just can't beat, but you try to imitate. You try to live up to those standards. And that's what we've been trying to do.
Absolutely. So you have a lot of aspiring chefs, a lot of aspiring individuals who want to open up a restaurant one day. What would you tell them, right? What would you tell them, those who are trying to come in your path?
Yeah, I would first tell them to know the reason why you're doing what you're doing. Know the reason why you're jumping in to be a chef, whether it's open up a restaurant or a private chef, and know the food and the story that you want to tell. Is it about your culture? And when you dive into that, go 100%, right? You don't have to necessarily, you want to look at the trends. You want to look at what's going on because that's how you adapt. But you don't adapt too far. You adapt your philosophy and your culture to kind of go with that trend. You don't change who you are. You're learning. My grandmother was a constant, she was a student of life, a student of the industry. You know, at 96, she was in that kitchen reading cookbooks, reading cooking magazines. We still do it to today. Not that we're getting ready to change our menu 100%, but we need to understand what people are looking for. What's the new trend? How, if there's something we can do better that celebrates our culture or showcase it a different way. So dive in 100%, never ever forget who you are and the reason why you're starting this industry in the first place, and go for it. Don't ever, ever give up. That was the one thing my grandmother always said, never stop pushing, never stop moving forward. Because if you don't, somehow you're going to get through it. You're going to get to the line one way or the other.
Absolutely. I have a question for you because I've always wondered, what's the story behind all the art?
Yes. So the art started collecting African-American art, as I said, when there was a time where artists had nowhere to showcase. But then as you start to collect, and now I collect, my grandmother taught me art speaks to you. It has to speak to you. It has to tell you a story. And that's what the artist is trying to do. The artist is telling you a story from their perspective. But the person looking at that piece also is looking at a story, because they're looking at through it from a lens from their life exposure, their life's opportunities, their upbringing. Could be totally different than what the artist is trying to say. You may see a painting or a piece and have 3 or 4 different meanings at one time, come back, see it another month, and pick up a whole different experience that the artist is trying to tell you. Because it's what shaped your life. So that's, as we were growing up, she said, art has to speak to you. Just like our food has to speak to you. What story are we trying to tell? What flavors are we want you to taste to let you know this is who we are? You can certainly go to a lot of different great restaurants in the city, and we have a lot of great restaurants in the city, and they're all telling their story. And that's has shaped our really collecting of arts and showcasing, because we want other people to be exposed to that. Tell me what you see in this piece, because you grew up different than me. Tell me what you see in this piece, because you had a different life experience than me. And it's fascinating to see what people talk about.
Yes, I love the art. So if you've never been to Dookie Chase, I mean, even the airport.
Every restaurant we do will have art in it. If we don't have art in that restaurant, it's certainly not ours, because we bring art in each and every restaurant we touch.
I love it.
Because again, I want to get into food. I'm so excited about this. If I had to ask you, like, what is your go-to dish? What would you say? My
go-to dish is always going to be gumbo, right? And there's so much in gumbo that really tells our story. You know, you can't cook a small pot of gumbo. So anytime you're cooking gumbo, you're bringing people over, whether that's family, friends, or community, because food is about uniting people, bringing people together. But when you think about gumbo, right, it's a dish that has so many proteins. We have chicken, we have 2 types of sausage, we have veal stew, we have crabs, we have shrimp. We have all these different variations of protein, but they all come together over a velvety roux. Right? That's the world we live in. So many different cultures, so many different people, but we all got to make this thing work for the better. So that's why I think gumbo is the dish that just symbolizes so much for my family, so much of who we are, and so much of who we are as a country.
I want to say we went to your restaurant. Do you know what Savitra got?
What's that?
Gumbo.
I love
So, you know, I'm always start in true Southern fashion. And maybe because I grew up like this, and maybe it's just a Southern thing, but when you had gumbo, as far as like for Christmas, you always start with a bowl of gumbo.
That's right.
And so when I go to Dookie Chase, when I go to Chapter 4, I start with a bowl of gumbo.
I love it.
She got gumbo.
And they have the best gumbo too, because everybody that make that like traditional Creole gumbo, you know, people try to get fancy, but this is like some traditional Creole gumbo, and that's why I love it.
No, well, thank you. My grandmother would often say she helped change the course of America over a bowl of gumbo. So
I
we're
love
trying to
it.
keep it going.
So that's your go-to dish, but what would you say is your most meaningful memory in the kitchen?
Ooh, meaningful memory. I think the most meaningful memory is going to go back to a dish I started out cooking and learning from my grandmother. That was stewed chicken. And I would look at her right beside her, command that stove in the kitchen and watch her make the brown gravy and try to recreate it. And I would bring it home to my mom. And the mother's love, each time I brought it home, it was the best, right? She was like, oh, this is the best. I would take that dish and bring it back to my grandmother in the kitchen. She's like, oh, man, you got to let this cook a little bit more. You got to have this and that. She was training me. And those memories, bringing it back, that's why I understood I could do no wrong with my mama, because everything I brought her was the best, and it probably was horrible. And then I would bring it to my grandmother, and she would correct me right then and there. Nah, this got to cook a little bit more. You got to add a little bit there. So that dish brings back so many memories in the kitchen.
Oh, I love that.
Now, I was at Essence this year, and I ran into a few individuals that my husband knew from Disney, because he used to be a part of that universe, and they could not stop talking about you all. So I know that the Disney staff and Disney employees love the Chase family.
Thank you.
And it seems like y'all have a good relationship as well. How is that relationship?
We do, and Disney was in town. We had a event at the restaurant actually with Disney doing Essence. But, that goes back to the Princess and the Frog story that you talked about. Being my grandmother was the influence of Princess Tiana. And, a lot of folks at Disney said not only was she the influence, she's the first princess that was really real life princess, right? It's based off a person's story. And when you think about that, there's some key elements in that movie that symbolizes our family. But one of the important things I always say is her father telling Tiana, never ever forget what's most important. Going back to my grandmother's father telling her, never ever forget those three things. There's so many things that movie is trying to portray in terms of community matter, people matter. Every person has a worth that Disney has got right. So you fast forward now to Tiana's Bayou, the ride that opened up in Orlando and as well as Disneyland in California. And they're getting ready to announce different interactions at children museums that tell that story, which is an important story. It's really diving into just the love of people. The reason that this princess wanted to have her own restaurant, worked really, really hard to get it. But along the way, she took care of everybody. And that matters. So it's been a fascinating ride to see that Tory stole so many times and to see them embrace it. So
In
cool.
Disney, I envision, a young male chef by the name of Dook in the future. So
what you say, you got to speak it into existence.
I can
I'm here
literally
too.
see that, right?
I
Like the
love
new
it.
generation of New Orleans, showing you how to keep it going.
Let's keep it going.
I will
love
say
it.
I went to Disney World in Orlando November, and I actually rode the ride.
Awesome.
I did.
And they really dived in. So in terms of when they were building that ride and everything that's included, certainly there's some things that speaks to my family. If you get there and go look for the punch cards in the kitchen, it has my grandmother's name. It actually has my father's name and my grandfather's name. There's some pictures there. There's some pots there that the family had. But they also took time to showcase the native plants that Louisiana has. They also took time to showcase the Louisiana artists. Many artists did those murals that people see. Even the lighting in that ride was done by a Louisiana company. So it wasn't just us. We were telling the story of everything. It was. And they really dive into that. So
yeah, they had like the Zydeco music was part of the ride. Your grandmother's face and cookbooks were like all over the store. Like once you leave the ride, like they were very, very intentional. They did a great job. A lot of New Orleans
musicians you're hearing over the speaker as you wait to get on the ride. That music is local.
So I've never been to Disney World before. I know, it's crazy. Not Disneyland, not Disney World. So it is on my bucket list, and hopefully I get there next year. But now I am incentivized.
Yes, please go check it out. It is fascinating and certainly tells a great story.
Now, when you think about your own legacy, what do you hope it will be? What do you hope people will say about you?
Oh, that's a tough one because I'm
You
still
still working
building
on
it. I'm
it.
still working very, very hard. I think that I hope they say, and I hope I can accomplish this, is one of a person who worked really, really hard to look out for his community. One of the biggest things that I want to do specifically for New Orleans is, I know you sit on a lot of boards and nonprofit boards, and I do as well, is when you go to ask for money for meaningful institutions, right? New Orleans African American Museum, the Claiborne Corridor, all these things that were prominent for the Black community, and we're looking for money. I hope in my life to achieve some capacity where we don't have to look for money. We can tell our story. We can sustain it. We can make sure that when you ride in a Tremaine on Orleans Avenue, you see the same Christmas lights that may be going on uptown. Those experiences that I was afforded as my family had the opportunity to give me, kids in our community can have those same experiences. I am very grateful and very fortunate and blessed to have come up how I came up. But I know there's people that don't have that same circumstance. I want to make our community, my little area, as much possible to give them that experience as I can. So it's a lot of work for me to do to get there. I know there's a lot of people in this community that I need to help partner that are doing great things, such as you all. But that's my goal. Hopefully I get there, and that would be my legacy, but I'm working hard at it.
You're on your way.
Love it. Well, we always end by asking our guests their rich lesson.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
So,
And this is something, so we say a rich lesson. So this is something that could have cost you a lot to learn or could have cost you nothing to learn. But either way, you're happy that you learned it. And this could be in business or in life.
I think one of the biggest or the richest lesson I learned was to be confident in your ability. So many times we walk in a room and we think we're not adequate or efficient or experienced enough to be in that room. And after you get through that initial stage, you start to figure out, whoa, the person next to me, either one, doesn't know as much as I know, or two, doesn't have the work ethic that I have, so I can pass them up pretty quickly. So always trust and have a belief in yourself. But don't have a blind belief. Make sure you're going to put in the work, the experience, and the know-how to get to there. But confidence in your ability will take you a long way. And never be scared to enter that room. Never be scared to sit at that table, because you deserve to be there, and you can learn to get at the head of that table if you put in that work and keep pushing.
A rich lesson indeed. Thank you.
Thank
Love
you
it.
so
Thank you so
very
much.
We
much.
appreciate
Thanks for
having you here
me.
on
This
Rich
was awesome.
Lessons. Until next time, y'all.